Hey everybody, how are you doing tonight? 'Cause I am doing so good. I saw that Brennan and Alex had both made a video on the state of the EU movement, and I kind of wanted to do that too. If you were around at the beginning, ground zero, April 25th, 2014, you knew what the EU movement looked like in the very early days. A lot of anger, a lot of passion, understandably so. I remember feeling that way when Disney decided to decanonize and largely discontinue the expanded universe, relegate it to Legends, as you know. That's history. But there was a lot of organization, mostly through Facebook, is where we all pretty much organized, because it was 2014. But there was a lot of organization, a lot of passion, a lot of anger, and it felt very real. Felt very alive to post online in those days, because we would organize basically posting campaigns on, Star Wars books, Facebook, or whatever. The hashtag give us legends, or hashtag give us more legends. But yeah, there was a big feeling of community, despite coming together under not so fun terms to have our universe that we loved and cherished to be tossed aside. And then 12 years later, where we are right now, it doesn't seem as loud, seems very, very quiet amongst EU fans. Everyone's kind of gone their own way. Some may have just accepted it, moved on. Maybe people who didn't just decided to keep quiet. Some people probably just left the movement altogether. You get new interests, you just, move on with your life. And that's fine. Hey, I've been in it a long time, and I think that's for the best, honestly. Do I wish we were as, torches raised, pitchforks, like we were back then? Maybe. But I think we made a lot of progress. The Twin Suns Foundation was formed. A charity movement basically arose out of the Give Us Legends, and, we're for the better for it, because stuff's going to a good cause. We had our billboards, of course, but I would argue that we don't really need that stuff anymore. I think we've moved past the very initial, we're still here part of the movement, because we are, well, some of us are, and we just have not given up. However, it was never, our say in whether Legends continued. We were the customers, just letting our voices be heard. And that's all we were ever doing. Maybe not at first with as politely as we could have been, but over time, we've got more calm, got more polite. Some of us have. I can't speak for everybody. But Disney and Lucasfilm know. They know that we're here. They know that people want more Legends, or that people still prefer the expanded universe, and people coming into the movement, even if they weren't there at the beginning, they've grown to prefer the EU or Legends, whatever you want to call it. And even amongst normies, and the general feeling seems to be, you know, the sequels are bad, or whatever Disney is making is low in quality, with, of course, some notable exceptions. And I don't think it really matters all that much, because even if everything from Disney was gold star, A++, everyone loved it, I'd still want, the EU to continue as a separate timeline. I think it should. I think there's no reason why it can't. But feelings on Disney's content so far, pretty mixed, to say the least. That does tend to suggest that these people might want an alternative to what Disney's making. I've seen a lot of people saying, decanonize the sequels, or something with the world between worlds, time travel to retcon, some DC Marvel universe reset kind of thing. And I don't think that will happen. I'm not Disney Lucasfilm, so I don't think they would ever do it. Because basically you're just saying, hey, those movies that made $1 billion some years back, just ignore those. But, or it's at the very least admitting they screwed up and they need to start from square one, and basically rebooting the canon a second time because of how bad things have gotten. And that would be a mess in of itself, just like it was back in 2014 when they originally did it, because now there's 2 non-canon universes now, or whatever. A Legends 2, is everything going to be Legends 2 that is now? And then the real canon, it will be what comes in the following years after the reset, and rinse and repeat when they screw up again, just like Disney, or just like DC, just like Marvel. Whenever the timelines get confusing, they just reset. That was so good about the EU, is that they didn't, use that as a crutch. It was just one somewhat smooth continuity, and warts and all, just accept the good with the bad. Mostly good, I would say mostly good, but and the growing apathy of Disney fans, Disney canon fans, normies, that could point them towards the EU. Even this year, today, right now, a new EU fan could be born because they don't like the way Disney, the trajectory is going. And that's a lot more of a subtle continuation of what the EU movement is about. It doesn't have to be a niche group of 30 people or so just campaigning, posting on Star Wars Books Timeline. I don't think it hurts, but I don't think we have to do that anymore. I think, they know we're here, and the new stuff, I'm not speaking for every single Disney canon fan out there. I'm sure there's a lot of, tried true, they love everything coming out. But then you see the attitude towards a lot of the new content, and a lot of it seems to be artificially pushed. Like, there's some people that are just excited about everything, just kind of pimping it out. Be they fanboys, be they shills. And it's, feels artificial. I have asterisk, not everyone is like that, but, it feels like very corporate, or like they're trying to curry favor with the company to get access, whatever. I'm digressing a little bit here. But that would point people towards the EU and the merchandise, It's not like completely dead. We're still getting some stuff. New reprints, new collections, new omnibuses, new figures. I'd say we got more of that in the past 5 years than the previous, 7 or 8 years leading up to where we are right now, after the sequels came out. I think we're in a not so bad state. Plus, I think there was a new canon movie that came out that didn't do so great. I mean, you'll have ones like that. But, I cater towards people that won't buy your product instead of those that absolutely would. I don't know. It's, it's both encouraging and discouraging. Because I get it. We're 12 years removed from getting, new books, new comics, new games. What do we have? We have 108, came out May 31st, 2019. Over 7 years ago. One comic issue. SWTOR gets continuous updates, but even then, I've heard, I've heard people not so happy with the amount of story, because it is like we're being drip fed a little bit. But if it's only one outlet of new EU material, I can see why, why there's a lot of impatience waiting for new stuff in between. Because the fact of the matter is we don't get new books. We don't get new comics. Unlike the new canon, we don't get new TV shows. We don't get new movies. We don't get new games. We just, kind of have to reread what we have at this point. Or, buy the re-releases and reread the stories that have already come out 20, 30 years ago. I mean, it's fine, but it could be a lot better. We could be getting new content. Not that I have to tell anybody here that. So, discouraging because we're having to deal with a lot of, tough realities. It's been 12 years since they made a new book, since the canon reset. Nothing in that time. Very little of anything in that time. It's, not our preferred way to be. We want to have, new legends. A lot of the EU movement want new legends. Some people are fine as is, because if they were following the Disney continuity and they saw stuff that they didn't like, they might not trust the current owners to faithfully create new legend stories of high quality. And over the years, it's getting, from an outsider looking in, it's getting easier and easier to understand that point of view. Look who they made the CEO of Lucasfilm. Oh my God. Wow. And we're asking those people to, continue our continuity. I get it. That's yowza. But if they get the right people in charge, and, I think, with SWTOR continuing and issue 108, they've proven that in some cases, that as long as, there's passion and, creativity behind it, they do have talented people that could potentially continue Legends from a place of, of their heart, of understanding, knowing where we're coming from, being fans themselves, most importantly. And that's really what I think needs to be focused on. So, I'm not trying to poop in anyone's cereal here, but, EU movement as it was, back in my day, doesn't exist like it does now. And I think that's not so bad. But a big blow to, I think, our fandom was when we got a very amazing thing that happened. It was the Legends Con and Legends Con 2 Legacy Expo, 2 expanded universe conventions, one in 2023, and one last year, 2025. But now, due to shenanigans, the ego of one person, basically, and probably people just bickering behind the scenes, they've kind of ruined it for everyone. And that, was a chance to show that the EU community could come together, have a great time. I had a great time at both those EU conventions. I think they were fantastic. But, we couldn't even get that. Can't even get a third one at this point. Well, I doubt that we will. I hope that we do, but, what guests would trust, the EU community to put something together after all that? Though time heals all wounds, so maybe that will become a distant memory. Maybe some certain people won't threaten lawsuits and just let the EU community build their own space for each other to celebrate, our continuity, essentially. I don't think that would be too difficult, but what do I know? So yeah, state of the EU movement. It's fine, I guess. It's out of our hands, like it always was. It's always going to be in the hands of Disney, Lucasfilm. They can choose at the end of the day to, do whatever they want. If Disney Canon has one person, just one single person buying all their stuff, and the EU is, constantly outselling, through the reprints and whatever, that doesn't matter so much. That's just pocketbook money for them to continue their, failing projects, standalone movies that bomb at the box office. Hey, but it's been, 7 years since the last movie that they made, so maybe they just need to, get the rust out. Try again next year and see what happens. But yeah, anyways, I think there still is a lot of passion for the EU. It's just not as seen, not as obvious as it was a decade ago. And that's fine. You just do your own thing. If you want to, move on from Star Wars, that's, probably healthy. Well, yeah. Have other hobbies. I strongly recommend that. that will make you feel a lot healthier mentally, emotionally. But yeah, that is my video. You have a great day, and take care of yourself. You earned it. You deserve it.